taxes, inflation, and the breakdown of the family are causing us to fall behind. We have the lowest net worth in the United States, and I'm sure those numbers cross the border as well.
Some people get the disability tax credit and they don't open the registered disability savings plan, and that's where the government puts in all the money of grants and bonds for a person with a disability who has done all the steps. Some people don't do all the steps.
Good morning, everybody. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, created in Canada, syndicated around the world. So someone gave me a suggestion to add that tagline. So created in Canada, syndicated around the world. So we got something new there today. It's a new year, 100%. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy 2025. First prime, I got my shows mixed up. First, the morning vibe in 2025. And we're looking forward to having another, exciting year on the morning vibe because you help it make it exciting. So my name, Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And since 2020, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. All right, everybody, we are back. The morning vibe with just today, Dr. Vibe, and usually Ryan Knight. So before we get into it, some housekeeping rules. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, please like the Dr. Vibe show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Yeah, I'd like to start the new year with some. We haven't hit 1,640 subscribers yet. So gotta see if we can hit that next plateau. All right. Also, to advertise your business, service, or product on the Dr. Vibe show or any of the platforms I'm on, email me, dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. Also, join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Email me at dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. And cannot forget Indie Soup Media. Indie Soup Media is an independent content creators platform. About 30 of those independent content creators, me being one of them, and I also sit on the advisory board of Indie Soup Media, which is on a break right now till February, but there's still stuff on the YouTube site. So go check it out. Run by our good friend, Dr. Tachi out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Just over 8 months on YouTube, over 22,000 subscribers. So go check out indiesoupmedia.tv. All right, it's the first Friday of the new year 2025, and we keep up a tradition. Doesn't matter what year, doesn't matter what month. He is in the house. Mr. Wayne Harris, what's going on, my brother?
Let's go. Happy New Year, Dr. Vibe and the family. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing outstanding. Before we go any further, I want to express condolences because I know you lost someone close to you. And
yes.
I just want to express condolences. And you've been sharing a lot of memories of that individual. So anytime that you take a body blow, I feel it. So I just want to express my condolences to yourself and that gentleman's family.
I appreciate you, Dr. Vibe. This is a friend of mine I've known since 1980, really. He is a high school friend, college friend, university friend. He moved to Toronto. I moved to Toronto. His first two sons are my godsons. And he battled hard with the big C. And he battled to his last breath on December 13th of last year. So shout out to Alan Joseph Cox. He was a pure shooter. So for those of you who watch and play basketball, to see someone hit, 8 or 9 in a row from 3, this was a man who could do it long before Steph Curry. So shout out to him and his family.
Wow. And Fitness IQ Cam says, my condolences, Wayne, on your loss. All right. So how was the holiday season outside of that? Probably is a little bit more challenging than usual because of that.
Right. We went to Montreal for Christmas.
Okay.
We only had a couple of days because my son works for our premier, and he only had 2 days off.
Yes.
So we left December 24th at just after noon, and we're back on the 26th in the evening.
Wow.
But it was the first Christmas in 40 years that my wife and all her siblings were together with their parents. So it was pretty.
Wow.
We
Wow.
have the digital evidence of
Nice.
said reunion. So it was very, very good
Beautiful.
on that note. People got emotional because they were thinking back to the last time they did that, and her parents are in their 80s, so we need to get as many of these
Yes.
at-bats as possible.
Yeah. I can relate. On Christmas Day, we had big family get together at one of my relatives' house, and then on New Year's Day, we went to a Korean barbecue place.
Nice.
And like my dad, because we don't cook no food, but I said, don't worry, we take care of you. But we had about 22 people.
Yeah, it's fun. I did it for the first time last year. I had no idea. People were telling me
Yeah.
about Korean barbecue for years. I never went because I thought it was all seafood. And as you know, I'm allergic, so I didn't want to go. But we
Yeah.
just cooked the seafood on one different hot pot, and we did
Yeah,
the other
exactly.
meat on the other side. It was fine.
Yes. So Fitness IQ goes horn sound Ray. All right, good stuff. I know your time is limited, so let's get right into it. So today, you want to chat about some other topics. We may not get to the other ones with this one first, but let's talk about 2024, the financial year in review.
Right. Well, 2024 started out with a bang. Right. We knew it was going to be Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, and we were all excited about that, and everything was going, pretty copacetic. And we had a couple of gunshots against Trump, and I said, assassination attempts, and he survived. This might be it for the Democrats. And I, kept it to myself and maybe my inner circle.
Like myself.
Then they had the debate, and I went, she did well in the debate, but so did Hillary last time. And I said, I don't know if that's enough. But before the debate, Biden steps away after his debate, which was, to say it was a disaster would be an understatement. And that really changed the game because he could have given her the entire primary season. He could have. All he had to do was say it's an amount. But we have a guy here in Canada who's kind of doing the same thing. The election coming up in October, and he's kind of saying, "I'm chilling right now." Whether he does or he doesn't really will affect the outcomes of the Canadian Liberal Party. Last year, we had a couple of things happen that were very significant in finance. It was kind of the first year we had the first-time homeowner savings account, and people were putting money into that 2023, 2024. So that was good. We also had the new capital gains tax that came in June 25th to be exact, and it raised capital gains above $250,000 from 50%, which is brutal unto itself, but to 66.67% for everything above 250,000. So everybody who has multiple properties, they're in deep trouble if they don't have enough money. Whoever the beneficiaries are, to cover those taxes on those properties where they're not on title or the properties are not in trust. So people are now talking to me about, hey, I need to get a trust. I need to get a trust. You may need to get a trust. You need to talk to a trust lawyer and an estate lawyer about that to see how you can mitigate your tax situation with that. Very different in the United States than Canada. The United States has many more mechanisms. Canada is not as much, and the tax defense in Canada is not as robust as it is in the United States. So I think a lot of people are doing their research on Instagram and not talking to lawyers. No one wants to pay the lawyer for the opinion, but everyone's asking for an opinion. So when you pay the money, if you have more than 2 properties, now your parents have a property, you're not on title, you may want to talk to a tax lawyer and tax accountant and see if you can get that trust set up for yourself so you can have a soft landing when that transition happens, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Just want a quick question. Fitness IQ has a question. Says, do you know any trust or estate lawyers?
I do, and then they can reach out to me, and we'll
Okay.
do that
Okay.
one-on-one for sure. My
100%.
contact information should come up here sooner or later.
It will. It will.
I have a new website now, so I'm not using Calendly anymore. I'm using WayneHarrisConsulting.com, and you can book me on WayneHarrisConsulting.com.
All right. I will change that in the real time. So keep on going.
Okay, perfecto. So let's, again, the stock market loves, change. When governments are changing, these governments are pro-business. So you saw what happened with the crypto once Trump was announced as the incoming president. The stock market had a little bit of a rally. Things are a little bit soft now, but look at our Canadian dollar. Our Canadian dollar has taken a beating. But here, guess what? If you have investments in the United States, good for you, because you just make money on the exchange. So right now I'm looking at selling something that I have, and I'm like, oh, it's down. And then I thought about it. It's down, but the Canadian dollar is down. So even though the stock is down, I can still sell and make 30 cents plus on the exchange. So it's a pretty good deal. So all in all, 2024 on a personal level was rough, just as 2023 was rough from a personal perspective. But from income perspective, 2024 was pretty good, one of my better years. From a business perspective, 2024 was a decent year. And 2025 is going to be bananas good, because we just opened up a new office in Vaughan, and we'll be having a grand open house, so everybody in the family can come on out to Vaughan. Maybe I'll have some of those cocktail patties, I'll have
Carolyn
and beef, a veggie chicken and beef, right?
Okay. All right.
Make sure we have that. As you know, my health journey has been, I wouldn't say a struggle. I really didn't put a whole lot of time and effort into it for many, many years. And then when I came back from my last trip, I was like, ugh, I don't like the way this looks. I don't like the way it feels. And now, this shirt is not killing me, because it actually fits the way it's supposed to fit. And the jacket, I'm not, as they say in Austin Powers, I'm not toit. It's not toit. I'm actually feeling okay in the jacket. And this has to do with the Energy Shack juice bar and Carolyn Nickel and her program for myself. So I appreciate her and all the squad over there for taking care of myself and my wife.
Quick question. So I know you probably did, but I just want, what do you see were the key financial trends that define 2024?
Key financial trends that define 2024, I would have to say it would be the dropping of the interest rates. Once the Bank of Canada saw that it was going to have about 2 million households that were going to be renewing their mortgages between 2024 and 2026, they knew that if those people came out into a market where the interest rates were 2%, 3%, and 4% higher than they're used to paying, many, many people would default on their mortgages. They just couldn't afford to do it. They're going to have to walk away. And that would cause economic Armageddon for the country. So the Bank of Canada conspired, as we go into an election year, to reduce the interest rates, because they said they beat back inflation to 3% or 2%. Trust me, when you go shopping for groceries, I don't think you see 2% and 3% on the groceries. Groceries are up big time. Meat is up big time. Veggies and produce is up big time, and families are struggling. The Trudeau government, who gave us a little reprieve on taxes on certain things as of December 14th, where you can buy kids' toys, but you can't buy collectibles. You can buy certain clothing and certain things for children for no tax. This put pressure on small businesses to look at everything in their inventory to see what was in play, what wasn't in play, and re-tag everything electronically into their cash registers to take the tax off on these things. And they hope they get it right, because when they get audited, if they didn't charge tax for things they weren't supposed to, they're going to have to pay that tax out of pocket. So I understand that we need a break, but you know what? Maybe we need a break on things that are much more universal, like the carbon tax, right? I mean, taking tax off liquor, I don't know how it helps kids, but it helps you buy alcohol, which is something that I've decided that my body does not require anymore, and really took my last drink in 2024, and I'm hoping that I can keep this going. I've had some very, very fine bottles of wine and higher end spirits put in front of me over the holiday season in Montreal and here. A lot of people were toasting my boy at his transition, and I did not partake in that. And it tells me that the social construct of having that in my life was kind of the way I used to do things. I've been drinking since honestly 16. I'm going to say 18 for legal purposes, but 16 is when I remember having my first real drink on my own. When I think about all the different Christmas parties, and my mother used to love this wine. I don't know why. It's a Jewish wine. She used to work for some Jewish folks called Manischewitz. And this thing was basically grape syrup with alcohol in it. My mother loved it. And when I actually bought it as an adult, I go, how did she drink this? Right? It's a very traditional wine for Hanukkah. Yeah. Hanukkah just finished the other day. And, for anybody who wants to drink, do your thing. But I found that my weight came off and stayed off because I was not adding the calories, the liquid calories from the alcohol. And trust me, I love good liquor, but it doesn't serve me at this stage in my life. So I'm going to have to make a pivot and an adjustment. So go ahead.
With those key trends, how do they impact the average investor, business owners, and consumers?
Well, thank you. Good question. People who have money always win. So you want to be cash rich when there are things like that. My neighbor just down the street sold his house for $200,000 less than he listed it for. $200,000 less.
Wow.
Okay. Now, if you're selling a house in December, usually you have a problem economically, because usually you should wait for the top of the market, which is the spring market. And the spring market is, some right after Valentine's, people get romantic and they want to go out and they want to buy a house. And between February 14th and June, lots of houses are sold because, the tulips are coming up, the grass is green, the houses look great, there's no snow, and people go out and they buy houses. For him to have to sell this house and list it in November and sell it in December, he was under some duress. And, we have ways of finding out what houses go for in our neighborhood. And his house sold for less than a semi-detached a couple of blocks away. And he did a lot of renovation.
Wow.
Main level. So again, I'm not saying he lost money, because when I got here in 2006, he was already here. I know what I paid for mine, so he paid less than that because his house is smaller than mine. So he probably still made $800,000, $900,000 if he was mortgage free. Okay,
that's if he was mortgage free.
If he was mortgage free, but if he was mortgage free, why are you selling? Okay, so interest rates coming down is probably the biggest thing, because when you think about it, these high ratio mortgages, which are mortgages that are not traditional mortgages where you're not putting 20 or 25% down payment on the property, those that have a lower down payment are, in Canada, those are insured by the government. Canada Mortgage Housing Corporation, or Genworth, will do the mortgage insurance for you. So you pay a premium for having a lower down payment, but that allows you to get into the market. Well, if you think about all these high ratio mortgages that are insured by CMHC, which is a Canadian government, if these people default, they're defaulting on the Canadian government and the banks. So the banks go, hey, Canadian government, you have the power to save yourself. Rather than have these people default on both of us, why don't you lower the interest rates, right? And give us both a break in 2025, 2026, when the Canadian government obliged, and now the interest rates are dropping by half points and quarter points every month to get this thing down to a level that when people come out sometime this year, I have clients who have mortgages at 1.9%.
What?
Oh yeah, and they're expiring in this year.
Yeah,
they're going to come into a 4% mortgage.
That's
which is
right.
Double what they're paying now. Now, unless their income doubles or their expenses get cut in half, they're going to have a challenge. Go for it.
All right. So catch up some things here. So Fitness IQ says, yikes to your story about the person down the street selling the house for $200,000 less. Someone we know, Heather Harris, says, conspire is the correct word. Governments realized they couldn't squeeze people anymore and have people spending money for the holidays. Very few of the government's practices throughout the world are to assist the people they're elected to serve. And then she says, if they're elected, and then she says, it's magical governing, play with interest rates, inflation, and the money of the people.
Exactly. I think that you can't allow people to stop consuming, because that's going to cause recession. People start holding on to their money and start saving, and they don't put the money into the economy, it's going to dovetail. People are going to start laying people off. Unemployment in Canada is really high right now. So about 6.8% last time I checked, higher than the United States, which is about 4.2. So we have higher unemployment. We have a dollar that is basically, 70 cents right now.
Yeah.
And then we have Donald Trump about to put in tariffs when he comes in a couple of weeks. And if he puts those tariffs in at 25% and stops our stuff at the border, or it costs us more to sell to the United States, the Americans are going to buy from somewhere else. And Canada will have a hard time selling what it has, and that means there's going to be layoffs at the factories, and that's going to hurt the heartland of this country, wherever manufacturing is, and Ontario is a large manufacturer.
Let me ask Wayne, this whole thing, if 47 brings in these tariffs, will it not cause a global recession?
47 is not concerned about the global economy. He's
concerned about the American economy.
and I'm okay for that, because if our guy was concerned about the Canadian economy, we wouldn't be giving away money that should be going to small businesses to help employment and help manufacturing in Canada. We have so many natural resources. We have 30% of the world's fresh water. We have oil, we have diamonds, we have gold, we have everything here. But we don't do anything with it. We just sell it to other countries raw, and they do something with it. Why don't we do something here? How does Canada not have its own vehicle, like creating its own? France has vehicles, UK has vehicles, right? Russia has vehicles, Sweden has vehicles. Why don't we have a Japan, Korea, China? Why don't we have a vehicle, right? Yes, I understand the Americans, we build Hondas in Alliston, we build Camrys in Cambridge, we build GMs in Oshawa, and we build other cars, Chryslers and Fords in Detroit and Fords in Oakville. But why don't we have a Canadian-made car?
That's a good point.
Especially now that we're supposed to be EV and green. Why don't we do some of that? So 47 is going to make sure, at least he says he's going to make sure, that he repatriates a lot of the globalization of manufacturing that has gone to foreign countries. He's going to repatriate that and incentivize Americans to hire Americans so Americans can work. Because when Americans work, they will consume. And when they consume, that boosts the economy.
But the question I always have about that, comments here. So Heather Harris says, good morning, Dr. Tachi. Blessings in 2025. And Dr. Tachi is here and says, good morning, all. But the thing is, the goods and services that are made offshore, the labor cost is much lower.
Yes.
Are Americans willing to get, how are Americans going to stay competitive making things how can they offer go down on the labor costs?
Right. So you may not be able to go down in the labor costs, but you can go down in the tax regime costs. And that's why the tariffs come in. If I make everything overseas more expensive to bring in, then local makes sense. Right. The reason people manufacture in Mexico, because you're paying the people in pesos, not American dollars, and they're right next door. You just bring a truck and bring it into the United States. Same thing with Canada. The Canadian dollar is almost a peso now at 70 cents. So we're right next door. We have the largest unguarded border in the world, and Trump is saying, listen, you have a fentanyl issue coming into our country. You have illegal immigrants coming into our country. You need to do something with your border. And now all of a sudden, after not spending any money on those things, now Canada, no, let me be fair, not spending enough money to satisfy Donald Trump, Canada now has to revamp its position in that area and do more for its domestic agenda. Again, giving money to foreign governments to fight wars is, it is what it is. But if you can do that, you can defend your border. If you can do that, you can put your money into NATO. If you can do that, you can need to take care of the things to take care of Canadians. I know that one of the things that they said they're going to do in Canada this year is they're going to reduce development fees for new houses. If they reduce development fees, this is the money and the permits and the fees that the cities take in order for you to put a shovel in the ground. They say we need housing. We're short by millions of houses, but the cities and the provinces and the federal government take all these fees from the developers. You buy a $600,000 house, half of it might be fees.
Yeah.
Right? So if half of them are fees and you go into the developer is going to do the math and go, I can't make any money building that type of property. So I'm going to build this type of property because it serves me, because I'm built for profit. Now, the government's going to incent me by reducing development fees to develop the type of housing they want, then I will do so. People are coin operators, supply and demand, right? You want houses in a certain city, and that city reduces development fees, all developers go to that city.
Yep.
Pretty simple.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So we need to look at what's the tax regime, and what are the levers we have as individuals and as government to incent the type of behavior that we want going forward in 2025.
All right. Heather Harris says Canada may be content to be the developing nation of the global north. Someone is benefiting. Dr. Tachi says, I'm telling you now, Americans are not going to work for the wages that they pay some people abroad. And Heather also says, not the average Canadian. Okay.
Well, listen, the union busting of the 70s and 80s is what caused the globalization. When the unions started squeezing the throats of companies. Now, listen, fair wages should be fair wages. Right? I don't believe someone who does job A should get paid the same as job B, if job B is much more complex. But I also believe that the New Deal that came out in America after World War II, where you're giving certain people, not people who look like you or I, interest-free houses, and you're letting them move out to the suburbs, and you're bringing the highways and you're crushing the Black communities and building the highways right through the heart of all the Black communities in certain parts of the United States to undermine the Black economies that we're trying to grow after Reconstruction and during Jim Crow. They found another way to undermine those advances by just building expressways through those communities and killing the communities, right? So again, that's all the past. What we need to look at for 2025 and going forward is what can you do as an individual to empower yourself, to put yourself in position so when the next downturn in the economy happens, right? You want to think about downturns. 2020, we had a downturn. It's called a pandemic, okay? 2008, 2009, we had a downturn. It's called a real estate crisis, financial crisis, too big to fail. We had a downturn. 2000, we had a downturn with the Y2K thing, all right? 1987, we had Black Monday, right? We had a downturn. 1970s, mid-70s, we had the OPEC crisis when oil was so expensive and gas was so expensive. 1960s, we had another crisis, right? So we had to go to Vietnam to get out of it. 1950s, we had a crisis. We had to go to Korea to get out of it. 1940s, we had a crisis. We had to go to World War II to get out of it. All right. 1930s, we had the Great Depression. Right. So people have to look at history, and history doesn't mean that it's going to equal the future, but look at the history. And by every 10 years, the economy blows up. And you know who wins? The people who are cash ready to buy cheap. Whoever bought that neighbor's house, I'm going to see who they are. I live in Peel Region. I'll leave that right there. But whoever comes in to buy that house got it at a $200,000 discount, which means when 1 million people are coming into this country, that place already has $200,000 worth of equity, right? Immediately, because it was sold below what my neighbor thought was market value. And he might have been correct in 2021, but he was not correct in 2024. So we're going to see what 2025 has to hold. Back to you.
I know, again, we have not as much time as always. I want to make sure you get out what you want to get out, and also, and maybe to talk about what to do with all those bills from Christmas.
Well, first of all, in my last session in December, I said people are going to spend money they don't have to impress people they don't like, right? So $1,400 was about the average a Canadian was going to spend at Christmas. And those bills are going to be coming in right about the third week of January. And when those bills come in, people are going to pay the minimums, right? But if you pay the minimums, yes, you keep your credit intact, but that's where the credit card company wins. I really have to ask people of what you bought and whom you bought it for. Could you have made something? Could you have done something for them? Had an experience? Take them skating, take them bowling, right? Rather than buying whatever you were buying for them in the mall. I didn't touch the mall last year. I didn't go. You know what? And no one was vexed with me that I didn't go, right? Because I think that this consumerism, again, it drives the economy. I get it. But personal debt, for every dollar a Canadian earns, $1.82 goes out to service debt. It's the highest in the G20. Yeah. And when I started doing what I'm doing, it was $1.61. It's getting worse. So people obviously aren't learning.
No.
And financial literacy seems to elude most people. And there's a lot of information. Listen, I didn't have 20 years ago, there was no YouTube to go and check this stuff out. There wasn't any Google to check this out. Everything is Chat GPT. Everything's right there. But people don't want to do it. It's the same way I was overweight. And I'm according to the BMI chart, which is kind of BS, but the BMI chart, I'm still 20 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
According to the BMI. But that's for bone density for people who don't look like you and I. Right? I'm going to tell people that the bills you have are a direct reflection of what you value for yourself and your family. And if you have those debts and you're comfortable with those debts, do you. But understand this. If you don't pay those bills, or if you pay those bills at minimum, what are you robbing your future?
Yes.
by paying these bills today. Because last I checked, I'm on the wrong side of 55. And I'm just getting ready for my Shoppers Drug Mart discount in a couple of years. and I'm excited. I'm excited to be here, but there are fewer years ahead than have passed.
Yep.
And I need to prepare for a soft landing. And I don't think people are preparing for the soft landing. It's going to be a very hard landing. As Mel Robbins says, no one's coming to save you. Right? Canada Pension Plan pays like $1,200. Right? And that's if you maxed it out for 30 plus years. Old age security pays like $700. That's $1,900. You can't rent a basement apartment in Peel Region for less than $2,000. What are you going to do with 19? You better be coupled up, because at least if there's two of you, right? 1,900 and 1,900, you got 3,800. You have a chance to eat food every day. But if you're by yourself, and we have a 75 to 87% single mom issue in our community, these ladies better start looking at doing some group economics, and rather than each of you out there struggling, right, and the men as well,
absolutely,
come together and buy something.
And another point on that, the men on average don't live as long as the women.
Correct. And I have a buddy right now going through a divorce, and his wife is taking almost $400,000 from his pension.
How much?
That's what the law says she deserves. $400,000. Right? And listen, I'm not here to say whether it's right or wrong. I'm just saying he can't make that money up. He can't make that money up. Right?
Wow.
So when you get, people say, well, should you get married? Should you not get married? Hey, choose the right one. I'm coming into, this is my, August will be 33 years married. I got to say, I chose the right one. I don't know how I did it at 19, how I knew, but I knew. And my boy who passed away, he and his wife were together 40 years, married 35 years.
Wow.
And there was only the big C could stop that train from getting down the track, because they were going all the way to heaven together, to be honest.
Wow.
They are the example. So now that he is gone, he stops the clock at 35. Angie and I are now second in command. Now we're first in command because that marriage has ended, and now we got to keep it going to be living, breathing examples of walking my talk, right? Now, I know my wife want to box me down every now and then. And as you know, she's a second-degree black belt.
Come on, man. She can box you down.
I couldn't box her if I wanted to, because she's fast like a cat, Dr. Vibe. Right? And she's low to the ground. She's only 5'4".
That's what I mean. They can get our knees. They just take a round kick to the knees. We're done.
They're fighting dirty. They're fighting dirty. But I think one of the things that we really need to look at as a community is we need to look at how do we pool our resources together. How do you reach out to a Ray McMillan and come with 3 people who can go on title, right? And they don't have to be equal partners. One person can own 75% of the house, and the other 2 people own 12.5 and 12.5, and you have a partnership agreement. And you don't even have to live in the house. You can rent the house out, Airbnb the house, and have money coming in. But now all of you own something in 2025, rather than one person saving their shekels. And 5 years from now, who knows what the market is going to be like in 2030. You could buy that house in 2025 if you pool your resources with people you trust. So if it's a brother, sister, cousin, okay, or good friend, I would have bought a house with my boy Alan, no problem. And I know I made that offer 30 years ago, right? We weren't ready at the time. He went on, he bought his, I bought mine. In the end, it all worked out. But we could have had a house in 1994.
Yeah.
If
and
we
how
bought
much
together.
would it be worth now, right? Right?
And okay. So again, I think ego stops a lot of people, and ignorance stops a lot of people. People don't know what they don't know. It's called unconsciously incompetent. You don't know what you don't know, right? And then some people are consciously competent. They know that they don't know and still won't go out and find the information. Then there's consciously competent people who know that they know. And these guys move in the shadows. And they do their own thing for themselves.
Yep.
And then there's those who are unconsciously competent, where we know that we know, and we're happy to give any information to anyone who asks. But I've decided in 2025, I will not be providing any unsolicited advice.
Wow.
If you come and ask me, because this is why people are vexed with me to this day. I meet people, it depends on which Wayne you met. Is the last time you saw me 1984, 1989, 2005, 2017? Which version of me did you have a challenge with? Because 2025 Wayne's a different character. I'm a different beast. I'm built different. So when I meet people, I have to first find out, okay, good to see you. And at the funeral, I met a lot of people from a lot of years.
Yeah.
I said, good to see you. And then I wait to see what the feedback is. And the feedback tells me which version of me did they last encounter. Because when people listen to me today, they go, you're a different cat. I would hope so. I would hope so.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But I'm true to my principles, right? But I change and I evolve every day if possible. That's why I read every day and every night. I have to, because Dr. Vibe, when we did this in January 2024, that dude is no longer here.
Absolutely. I know that.
Right?
I know that.
I'm built different. Go ahead.
Here, catch up with some comments. So Fitness IQ can't said with the credit card bills, burn them.
Them.
The Dr. Tachi says, hello, Dr. Heather Harris. But also Fitness IQ says, facts says group economics. Heather Harris says, when people start to save, governments raise the interest rates and threaten recession. Of course, we have a role to play by becoming financially literate, or finding someone who can help you. I recommend Wayne. I wonder why. Not because he's my brother, but because he knows what he's doing. Help is free. Reach out. And then Fitness IQ says, with Angie, fighting smart, you mean?
She knows how to use her little itty bitty self.
Yes, and then Fitness IQ wants you to go through that whole role about conscious, unconscious people. So
Sure.
if you can give that again, I think not only she, but 100% people would appreciate it.
100%. So it's called the Johari window, Johari, Johari window. And it's a 2x2. I remember when I was at Deloitte, a member of the strategy team said, everything in life should be able to be explained in a 2x2. So pick 4 windows. Bottom left window, unconsciously incompetent. You don't know what you don't know. This is like you walking into a room with spinach on your teeth and smiling and saying hi. You don't know the spinach is in your teeth. Everybody in the room knows it's there, but you don't know. And no one tells you. This is how you know you're in a room full of haters. Okay? Or you have booger in your nose. You don't know because when you left in the morning, there was no booger, but now there is a booger and it's hanging there. And people are like this, they're recoiled, but they're not telling you because they don't care enough about you to tell you. And when people see you failing and don't care enough to tell you, you know that you're in a room full of haters. Unconsciously incompetent, bottom left quadrant. Bottom right quadrant, consciously incompetent. You know you don't know. I know I don't know how to do neurosurgery. Nor do I choose to be a brain doctor. I don't want to be. It's not my jam. But I am consciously incompetent. I know what I don't know in my industry, and every day I look to close the gap. The first quadrant, unconsciously incompetent, is called a blind spot. And every year you should be helping to close your blind spot as you grow and grow and grow. Blind spot means you don't know that you don't know, but then something happens and you become consciously incompetent. Now you know. When they told me my glucose was at level 6, I didn't know what that meant. Unconsciously incompetent. Then she told me what it meant. I said, she goes, you're pre-diabetic. Oh, that's all I needed to hear, buddy.
Yep.
I called Energy Shack, solved my problem. Like that. 5-6 weeks, done. Consciously incompetent. Upper right-hand quadrant, consciously competent. You know that you know. I know how to keep my weight off. I know exactly what I put in my mouth and what it's going to do to my metabolism. I know when to eat. I know what to eat. I know how long to sleep. And I know I need to have my Stanley full and empty multiple times a day. Okay? There it is. And then upper left-hand quadrant is unconsciously competent. This is in the flow. Michael Jordan didn't have to think about where to shoot from because he had shot from that spot tens of thousands of times. And he knew from muscle memory that he could hit that shot. It's called his fadeaway on the 45-degree angles, about 15 to 17 feet away from the basket. That was money. That was his go-to shot. It was his one move. He spin, and he reverse in the air. And as he's backing up, fading away, he's launching the shot. And you got to think about the mechanics. He's going backwards, but the shot is going forward. And the shot knows the distance is changing, but he adjusts for that while in the air. You're landing, he's still in the air, and he lets that shot go. And it was money. And whenever he knew he needed a basket, that was the move he did. Kobe did the exact same thing. Hakeem Olajuwon had the dream shake. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had the sky hook. Everybody has that's dedicated professional has their one or two moves that they know in a pinch. If the defense shows them that space, they're going to do that move to win. Back to you.
No problem. So for those who are watching live on the replay, I have a screenshot of the Johari window model. I've also put the name of it in the comment section for most of the people that are watching on my platforms. So I'm just going to take that down. Also, the Macmillan Group says a man has to continue to evolve. If you spoke with me yesterday, you may not have the same version of me tomorrow. Be prepared. And Dr. Chachi says, I love the Johari window. That is good stuff.
Yeah, I learned about it about 30 years ago, and it has proven itself to be something that if the community were to embrace, you would level up. Everybody, we talked about when I first came on resolutions. I make daily resolutions. So I have 365 resolutions because this is what I said I'm going to do. Did I do it? If I didn't do it, I have to add that to the gap to the next day, and I go for the next day. At the end of the week, I have weekly accountabilities. That's 52 accountability sessions minimum per year where we're checking the pulse. So I'm not adjusting once every 12 months. I'm adjusting every week up. And I have somebody who's been where I am going telling me I'm coming at the right speed in the right direction with the right tools. They tell me this is what you should be reading because I see this gap in you. I was unconsciously incompetent. Thank you. Now I read the book. I close the gap. I move to consciously incompetent. Now I start working on the things I need to do to become consciously competent. I got to think about it, but I know what to do. And then I build systems in place so I can make it duplicatable. So I think a lot of us, Wayne, I don't want to invest with you because I feel a certain way about the investment. Well, what about the evidence and the facts of the investment? Well, how about those? Do those sway your thought process at all? No. It's just how I feel. Great. Hey, find somebody who can work with you at the level of your feelings. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to take your feelings into account. I have empathy. But when I show you the empirical evidence that what I'm putting in front of you makes sense for you, for what you want to do at the level of risk you want to do it, and you don't do it, that means you have a challenge with me because the information is true.
Well, you know what I say to people? Data has no emotion.
Data has no emotion.
Right?
But data can be manipulated.
Exactly. For the last few minutes here, I want to talk about this holiday debt. So how do you suggest people effectively assess the total amount they spent during the holiday season?
You have to look and see, have I maxed out my TFSA? Have I maxed out my RSP allocation? Have I paid all bills that I need to pay in full? And I have money left over called discretionary funds? Then you can look and take a portion of that and put it towards Christmas. Otherwise, what did Doug Ford say? Tenayad. Just pump your brakes, bro, because you're not in any position to be buying anybody anything. And you can tell the people in your life that you love and you care for that I'm not in any position to do anything for you for this Christmas. If that's the end of our relationship, then your relationship was based on what? So when I said to people, listen, there's some things I need to get done around this house, right? And these things take priority because I've been promising my wife certain things around this house for years and I haven't done it. Well, now I can do it. So I'm going to get it done. Why? Because no one's promised tomorrow.
Okay.
I stood in a cemetery on a blistery, rainy day on December 30th and watched my boy be interned. And I said to myself, well, no one is promised tomorrow. No one.
No.
Right?
No, not
no
at
one's
all.
Promised tomorrow. So
not at all.
I'm not saying I'm living recklessly. I'm not pulling a Drake, a YOLO. You only live once. But when there's an opportunity between doing something that will strengthen my relationship with my wife or my children and not doing it, I'm going to do it because I believe in myself that I can get the funds together to not hurt myself to make that happen.
Okay.
So my belief in myself is strong enough to make it happen. Tim
Frey has an interesting question. He says, where do you place Christians in the Johari window?
Christians. You're going to have to break that question.
Yeah, I'm not sure what
you mean by that.
On that. So then you've given first steps on someone should take in regards to the post-holiday financial situation. Mm-hmm. Is it better to tackle the high interest debt like credit cards or focus on smaller balances for quick wins?
Depends on the person's personality. I like focusing on small balances so I can see I've got $500 to $5,000 worth of debt, and I've got something at 10, I've got something at 40, I've got something at 200. If I tackle the 200, that's 5-6 years before I get to end the job. But if I tackle the $500 or 5,000, I might be able to get rid of that in 2-3 months. I get a victory. So I like the dopamine hit of getting the victory on the smaller balances, regardless of the interest rate. Now, if the interest rate is predatory, like one of these cash lending places, You want to get rid of that first, because that is killing you at a level that you can't even comprehend. If you really do the math, you would never do those things. But when people are desperate, they will do what they need to do. These things have interest rates north of 46%. So it's hitting you so hard, so fast that you have to get rid of those immediately. So I say get rid of those first. And once you get back down to regular high interest rates of 19 to 24%, then tackle the smallest balance first and get victories all the way through. But if you have something that's predatory, you need to get rid of that immediately.
How can individuals avoid falling into the minimum payment trap?
Minimum payment trap means if you're carrying debt, you're spending too much, and that's obvious. But also, if you're carrying debt, a lot of people believe that that's their only responsibility because they don't understand compound interest. So they pay the minimum because that's what the bill said they should pay, and they're following orders. It's called an employee mindset, right? I'm just going to follow orders. That's why people like to be an employee. They say, I don't want to be an entrepreneur because who's going to tell me what to do? I need to be an employee. And you see people who are even entrepreneurs have employee mindset. Don't want to get up, don't want to work 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day. You think if Ray had a deal for a mortgage and it required him to work past 5 p.m. on a Friday, you think he'll do it? Yeah, without a question. Why? Because he knows he is going to win for himself and his family. But there's some people who are in business and they say, listen, I'm out. It's 5 minutes to close. It's 5 minutes to close. I don't own the restaurant. We're not taking any more orders. I'm passing a broom and taking the garbage so I can be out the door at 8 o'clock. You see that mentality a lot out there. I think that people have to take control and ownership of their finances. You pay the minimum payment if that's all you can pay to keep your credit rating fine. But what you need is a strategy and a plan and a system to get rid of that debt, because by paying interest only, the debt never decreases.
Yeah, that's right.
You have 100%. To pay more than the minimum in order for the debt to decrease. The minimum payment is usually 3% of the balance. So on $1,000, you're paying $30. Well, no, you need to pay $50 or $60. But what I see is people paying minimum payments, and I look down at their hands, and their nails are beautiful.
Oh,
I see them paying minimum payments, and I see some other person's hair on their head. I see glue on their eyelids. Glue on their eyelids. Listen, it sounds like I'm being judgy. I'm not. No.
You know what? It's facts.
I'm saying that if you can do those things and you're paying minimum payments or you're not paying minimum payments, I know what you value, and that's okay for you. But then you can't complain. You lose the right to complain about how hard life is. Listen, I'm on IG and I see all these. You remember when people used to go out for New Year's Eve?
Yep.
Back in your 20s, and you pay, you go to the club, and the club was $10 or $20 back in the day. Well, because it was New Year's Eve, it was $50 or $100, and it was a lot of money. But you go to see the same people in a venue, but because it was New Year's Eve, it was special, and you go out and you ring in the new year and spend the money. I look at all those IG and Facebook pictures, and some of these people are my clients, and I know the situation. I'm like, what are you doing there? What are you doing there? You should not be there. But I don't say anything. You know why? Because it's not.
You're dirty, Wade.
What?
You're dirty. Oh God.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
OMG. Okay, let me go. Wow, that's a drop the mic moment right there. Frequency of Air Promotions goes, good day. Fitness like you can say, yes, try to stay away from that rat race, payday loans. Frequency of Air Pro says, tuning in now. Ray McMillan Group says, get rid of the small debt first. The small success will allow you to keep going to deal with the big ones. Yeah. Frequency event. Johari, I've not heard about this for a while. What was that again? Watch the replay. Sorry, yes. You're late. McMillan Group says they shouldn't be carrying a credit card debt, period. paid in full is what we should all aspire to.
Yes.
Frequency of persons, hello to me. Good. Fitness IQ has a bumba to win this morning. Frequency of emotions, drop the Atkins saltfish with fried dumpling. Okay, Fitness IQ says facts. Dr. Tachi says, yeah, we also see Jordans on their feet and cars they can't really afford. Officer Tim Frey says, being told to believe quite, quote, blind faith, unquote, and now having access to the different history of religion and someone chooses to believe a different version, where do you place them? I think he's building on that comment about the Johari principle.
Yes. Okay, so I'll answer it. Listen, faith is, do I believe I'm married or do I know I'm married? Right? I know I'm married. So when you talk to someone, they say, I believe in God. And some people say, I know God. Right? This is the difference. When I know unequivocally, then I have no problem with people who have faith, because they know in their heart they have a relationship with God, and that's fine for them, right? But I also know there's intangibles and there's tangibles. So in the intangible and the spiritual realm, your relationship with Christianity, the spirituality of Christianity versus the religious rites and roles and institutions of Christianity, there's a difference. And the Vatican is an institution of rites and rituals of a version of Christianity. Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, Calvinist, Pentecostal, right? You name it, Anglican, all versions of the same thing. These are the rites and rituals and methodologies of a sect of the religion. That's one thing. But there's the actual spirituality and your connection with God and what God means to you. I don't have any problem with that. These institutions have been known and still are known for undermining certain communities. You might be a part of one of those communities. So what I said in my eulogy for my boy is, how do you judge a tree? You judge a tree by its fruit. Take a look at your religious institution and take a look at the fruit. Not just today's fruit, the history of the fruit and what they have done to rectify those things. And if they have done those things, maybe you're in the right place. If they haven't done, then you need to understand and ask yourself why you're supporting someone who doesn't support you.
All right. A few more comments and we'll get a final comment from you because I know you have a hard stop coming up. McMillan Group goes, Mr. Harris, stop judging. LOL. And Dr. Chachi says, the moral of the story is don't post on social media where Wayne can see your debauchery.
Yes.
And then Fitness IQ again, it's the car and Jordans for me. I need to do a reality check on these. And Ray also says faith and religion are very personal to individuals, and each of us practice it very differently based on their reality. And Heather says rotten fruit. So on that note, final thoughts, because I know you've got to jump.
Well, sir, let me tell you, I came in with 12 things that I was going to discuss
next month.
About maximizing retirement. I had it done for Canada and the US
next month.
So maybe we'll do that next month.
No, we will do it. We need to do it next month because people really don't start thinking till January's done.
You're right.
I realize they don't start thinking till January's done. JJ Mar says, unfortunately, many churches are not sincere at all with handling of their church funds.
Well, let me tell you, if I was an American, I would form a church. You know why I would form a church? Because churches don't pay any taxes.
Yep.
Okay. I would form a church. That's why a lot of people have foundations. You know why they have foundations? Foundations are write-offs.
Yep. They don't pay taxes. Right?
So if you're in a position and you're in the United States, look into forming a church and look into forming a foundation. Because these are not, this is not a scheme or a scam. This is looking at the tax code and the tax regime and maximizing it in your favor. Tax evasion is illegal, just so we're clear. But tax avoidance is your right as a citizen of your country.
Say that again.
Tax evasion is illegal, but tax avoidance is your legal right in the country that you're in. So as a Canadian, we need to understand the tax regime. And as an American, you need to understand the tax regime. And if you look at what you've learned about taxes between kindergarten and grade 12, grade 11 for some of you in Quebec, it's next to nothing. And do you think you pay more taxes because you know nothing? Or do you pay less taxes because you don't know anything? Think about it. And I'll leave you with that. Back to you, Doctor.
All right. So a few more last comments. It was fire as usual today. Dr. Taji says, come on, Reverend Wayne. The doors of the church are not open. Now, here's an interesting fact. J.G. Mars, the NFL doesn't even pay taxes.
This may be news to me. Send that to myself and Dr. Vibe.
Yeah, I'd like to find out about that.
To know about that.
And Fitness, like you said, yes, at least before March 1st for folks to think about their RSP, perhaps 401k.
Yes, and that's what I was going to talk about. For those of you who have a little bit of time in Canada to the end of February to get your RSP contributions in for 2024, and I think you have the same right in the United States for the 401k. Hey, you know what? RSP, you're good, bad, or ugly. It's a way for you to reduce your taxes, and there's things we can do between now and age 71. When you become a RIF, Registered Retirement Income Fund, before that time comes, we have a lot of different things we can do to help you reduce the taxes on the back end.
All right.
So get back to our brother.
All right. Gonna let you go as always. Book Wayne, WayneHarrisConsulting.com. Email WayneHarris at HarrisMarketingGroup.net and Instagram. You be careful if you're gonna go on Instagram. At Wayne Harris Consulting is always my brother. Look, all the best to you, Angie, and the family in 2025. Always great to have you on. I'm looking forward to another great year of helping people score, at least giving them the education to score goals and get wins. What they do with it is up to them.
Listen, if I can say anything to anyone, imperfect action is better than perfect analysis.
Au revoir. Take care, brother. Peace. All right. Woo! That was a mic drop there. That was a mic drop there. I am telling you, family, absolutely fantastic as always. So that's it for today. I don't think we need anything else. To the point, fire, fire, fire. So as always, let's do our rundown. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. We want to get up. Let's hit 1,640 soon, okay? Please, please, please. And please like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Appreciate that. And tell people about the show. Advertise your business, product, or service on our show. Please email me dr period, VIBE at the DR, VIBESHOW.com. Join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Email me at dr period, VIBE at the DR, VIBESHOW.com. And as always, you can watch replays of this epic conversation at the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Ryan O'Neill Knight on YouTube and the Afro-Caribbean Business Network on Facebook. So as always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And remember, if you're not making money, make history. God bless. Peace to you all. Keep the faith, and we'll see you soon.